everyone. Today I will talk about the BDB data center. So what actually the BDB data center is? BDB data center is the heart of the platform. Basically, data center is the data virtualization layer of the platform, which has 60 plus built-in data connectors itself. We have the different set of data connectors which is available in our platform, that is RDBMS, social media, big data, flat files, and third-party APIs and etc. Once we make the connection over here, we can go to the next layer or the next plugin and use it. We have the different options available in the data center, which helps we can visualize our data in business story and dashboard. We have the data store and the data store metadata, which helps we can create the index or the structure and visualize the data in business story. Once we create the data set under the data center and publish it, we can create the dashboard and visualize our data. We have the data sheet, data sandbox, and data as an API options are also available in data center.
Today, I will show you how to create new data connector, dataset, data store, and data store metadata. So let me log into the platform. Once logged into the platform, we'll navigate to the platform homepage. And once I click on this app icon, all the plugins will be displaying. So now I just select the data center app from the app menu. Then homepage of the data center modules opens by default. You can see right hand side, we have an option that is a new option which helps the user can create the new data connector, data set, data store metadata, data sheet, sandbox, and data as an API. Also, user can access the list of created data connectors, data sets, data stores metadata, data sheets, and so on. Now, let me show you how to create the new data connector. Just click on this new option and select data connector option. Then the page opens with all the available data connector types. Here, the user can search a specific data connector type by using search bar. We have also an option filter by category. To get the various category of data connectors, you can use this.
Now, let me show you how to create MySQL data connector. So once select this MySQL connector from the connector list, then MySQL data connector page opens with data connector name, description, username, password, host, port, and the database name. So data connector name is just a user-defined name. So provide a name which is used to identify the data connector. So that's MySQL data connector. Description, the user can provide brief description about the data connector. It is an optional field. Username, instead of the actual username, user can provide environment variables. So I'm just specifying environment variable for username. And the password, it also supports environment variable. IP or the host, user should provide the database server details from where user wants to fetch the data. So it's my host number or the host name. Port number, this is a server port number field, so user provide the port number. And the database name, the database name is just a name of the database from where user wish to fetch the data.
Now, click on the save button. So once you click on the save button, we'll get two success messages or the notification messages. One is for connection confirmation and another one is for dataset created successfully. And newly created MySQL data connectors get added to the data connectors list. You can see here we have options or the operations or the actions like create, reconnect, share icon, and the more option. So once I click on this create option or the action, you can see we have the two options. We'll get the two options, that is new data set and the new data store. So user can create new data set and the data store on the top of this data connector. Reconnect, if user wish to or wants to reconnect for the selected data connector, just click on it, then reconnect it successfully, message will appear. Next is share connector, that is sharing a data connector operation. This operation helps the user can share the data connector with single or multiple users. So I'm selecting two users. So these are the users, okay, which will get this data connector. And user can select the user group also. And if user wants to exclude a particular user from this user group, then user can do such kind of operations. So here we have the user group, and exclude user means the user can share the data connector with single or multiple users and user groups. And also user can exclude the users or the user groups from the right to access the data connector using this exclude use option. Once I click on this save button, then the connector gets shared with selected user and user groups. We have another option, that is more option. This contain two operations, that is view and edit, view or edit and delete. So if user can edit the permitted information from this data connector form, user can change it and again save it, then it will be edited and will get updated successfully message. And if user wish to delete the data connector, just click on this delete icon, and this is the confirmation message will ask, do you want to remove the selected data connector? If you select yes, then this data connector has been deleted successfully from the connector list.
Now I'm showing you how to create the new dataset using the MySQL connector. As we have already created the data connector and established the connections with the server. Now, on the top of the data connector, I'm going to create the dataset which helps we can fetch the information from the particular database. So here, once you click on this new option, all these options are listed here. To just select dataset from the context menu, then all the data connectors or the data source list get displayed with new or the create dataset icon. You can see here we have the select source type or the connected type. So just select a source from this source filter and here enter or specify specific search connector name. So I have already created one connector, that is MySQL data connector. Yeah, showing now. And here we have an option that is create new data set or create data set option. So once I click on this create data set option, then the dataset page opens with configuration field like service name, description, data connector name, database name, and the query. So here the user provide the service name. So I'm giving here NLP dataset. So my dataset name is NLP. So service name is just a user defined name for the new dataset. Description is an optional. User can provide a brief description of the dataset. And the data connector name and the database name is a predefined field based on the selected dataset will be displayed here. Query section in which the user write a valid query. Here we have an option that is control plus space. So once we enter the control plus space key, we can see different keywords will be displaying here. You can use it and create the query and execute it. Right hand side, you can see on the right hand side of the page, the table information or the meta information is displaying that will contain all the tables, whatever is exists in the DB, and also you can see the column names in the table. These are the columns in the table. Once you double click in the table or the column, will auto generate a simple query so that we can validate and get the data. So once you click on this validate option, you can see we'll get data preview or the data. Now suppose that we have a query. This is a simple query which is having the filter. These are the two filters, a gender and the team, and one custom variable which is already declared or defined in the admin section. And also the value of this filter is already defined in the security section for the specific user. So once I click on validate, then you can see the filter list will be displaying at the right hand side. So here I'm passing the filter value, so gender, female, and the team values BU7. Once I click on continue, then the query will get executed and will get the result. So here you can see I have applied the filter, that is gender should be the female, and team BU7, and the skill is already, it is a custom variable. The value of this skills is already set it security in the security module or the plugin, and this is the value Java. We'll show you later what how we can create or set the custom variable. So once I click on save button, then the dataset created successfully. So once it is successfully created, then the newly added dataset will be listed or added into the data. Gets added to the dataset list. User can perform the different kind of actions or operations on the selected dataset. So we have the push to VCS and pull from VCS option. Using this option or the icon, user can push and pull the datasets into the Git. User can maintain the different versions for the same dataset into the same space. So this push to VCS option, user can push the dataset into the Git, and using this pull from VCS option, user can pull the dataset from the Git. View link, user can view the link for the specific dataset. You can see once just click on this view link and then you will get the link. Share option, user can share the data set with single or multiple users and user groups. So I'm selecting here, you can see here we have the user, I'm selecting the user and user group. So once you select the user group, the exclude option is enabled, and you can see all these users will be listed here, which is belongs to the this particular data, this particular user group. If user would like to exclude a particular user, user can exclude it and just click on the save button. So once you click on the save button, then the dataset gets shared with selected user or user groups. User can view or edit the dataset. So once you click on this view or edit, user can edit the permitted information from a particular data set. And if you would like to publish the dataset, just click on this publish option and select yes. Once you click the yes option, datasets get published. So if you would like to visualize your data into the dashboard and you want to create the dashboard, you have to be published dataset, then only you can able to create the dashboard on the top of this particular dataset. We have the delete option. User can remove the selected dataset using this option. If you select yes, then the dataset is getting removed from the dataset. Hello everyone, I'm showing you how to create the data store in BDB platform. So what actually the BDB data store is? A data store is a data source for persistently storing and managing collections of data, which includes not just repositories like the databases, but also store simple files and emails. Now I'm creating the new data store. So user can create data store based on various data connectors using data center module of the platform. The major categories of the data store creation available on the platform using RDBMS connector, using file connector, and using API connector. So let me show you how to create the data store using RDBMS connector. So once I click on create data store option, then user getting data tab. Specify the data store name. So I'm giving my SQL data store. So data store name is just a user defined name for identifies the data store, and the data connector name and the database name get displayed based on the selection of the data connector. In this query section, write the SQL query. So I have a simple query that I'm selecting the candidate ID, gender, team, expected joining date from the NLP hiring data. User can use control plus space for assistance in writing a query. Select the checkbox to enable the scheduler option and click on the next button. So once clicks on the next button, we'll navigate to the data type definition tab. So this tab allows the user to define the data type using selected data store. User can interchange dimensions, measures, and time field by selecting the respective icons. So you can see here we have this measure section, and if user want to move this into dimension, user just click on that icon and it is moved into the dimensions. User can move into measure section again. If user want, just click on that icon and it moves to the measure section. User can use the previous button to go back to the previous tab, and user can use the next button for moving forward. Click on the next button, then user will navigate to the hierarchy definition tab. So here in this hierarchy definition tab, you can see here left hand side we have the fields, these are the dimensions and the time fields, and the right hand side we have the hierarchy definition. So click on this add option, then new definition box get added. User can drag and drop dimensions of the time option to define the hierarchy. I drag and drop this time field, then by default the time dimension, by default this time splits into the year, month and date hierarchy, and the dimension field needs to be add or dragged separately each time to create the hierarchy in the till definition box. So I have added one more and just drag and drop this dimension field. So once I click on the next button, then we'll navigate to the batch query tab. This is the batch query tab. It splits the data fetching process into the different batches by generating a batch query. So here, select a dimension using the drop down menu and click on this generate button. So once click on the generate button, we'll get distinct query. And this is a batch query. So once I click on this generate button, then the original query generate the distinct query specification to fetch, proceed to the next. Click on the next button, then we'll navigate to the batch query tab. Here, select a dimension using the drop down menu and clicks on generate button. So once clicks on the generate button, then a distinct query gets generated. User can edit the distinct query as per their requirements. Now click on the generate button, which is provided for the batch query. So once I click, then the original query gets generates the distinct query specification to fetch the data. proceed to the next step by clicking on the next button. Once I click on the next button, then the data restriction tab will navigate to the data restriction tab, and this tab is used to restrict a user level view of the data store. Just click on this add icon to add a new box, inserting the data restriction parameter. So here we have to select a dimension. So I have selected gender here and enter the user or the group specific custom field to restrict the data. Click on the next button, then we'll navigate to the scheduling data refresh page where the user can schedule a data refresh interval by using the schedule data refresh tab. Here the user can define the time range to refresh the data using daily, weekly, monthly and yearly options. You can select anyone, every day at 12 o'clock it should be refreshed. Refresh now checkbox is already selected, and you can select this just check box selected for this enable email notification. So if you have provide a valid email ID, then definitely you will receive notification email regarding the data store. So once I click on finish option to complete the data store creation, then the data store has been created successfully. Message will get and the newly created data store added to the displayed list. You can see here we have the push to VCS, pull from VCS options are there. So user can push and pull the data stores from the Git. User can refresh the data. User can see the latest schedule status. Once click here, we can see what is the status, at what time it is scheduled, and share data connector. User can share data store. User can share same as the data connector data store with single or multiple users, user groups, and exclude the users. And you can add synonyms to the data store. And here we have the more option to view, edit and delete. The user can edit already permitted information and also remove the data store from the data store metadata. So how to create the data store metadata in our BDB platform. So what actually the data store metadata is? Data store metadata is a database created to store metadata. It is a structure or the index in which the actual data can be stored or written using an application like pipeline. So once I select the data store metadata from the new context menu, then the data store metadata page open. Here, enter the data store name. So I'm giving here NLP underscore hiding the collection name. So all the collections or the indexes are displaying here, whatever we have created from the data pipeline or from the data store. These are the indexes which is already created. So we can use it. Suppose I have already created one index, that is data store metadata. Click on the next button, then you can see all the dimensions, spaces, and time is displaying here. So once I click on the next button, then we'll navigate to the data type definition, and here you can see we have the dimensions, measures, and time. User can change or move the dimensions and measures based on the requirement from one to another. Once I click on the next button, we'll navigate to the hierarchy definition tab, where you can see the right hand side we have the hierarchy definition and the left hand side we have the fields. So these are the fields which is dimensions and time based fields will be displaying here. So once I click on this add option, then the new drill def box get added. User can drag and drop the dimensions or the time to define a hierarchy. So if I drag and drop this time field, then what will happen? This time field is split into the year, month, and the date. Dimension fields needs to be dragged separately each time to create the hierarchy in the till-def box. So once I click on this add icon, one till-def box will add it. And here I'm just moving this team dimension from left to right, that is a field and hierarchy. So once I click on the next tab, I will navigate to the data restriction tab. It is used to restrict a user level view of the data stored metadata. Once I click on this add icon to add a new box for inserting the data restriction parameter. So here I am selecting one dimension field, that is gender, and enter the user or the group specify custom field to restrict the data. So I'm giving here and then finish it. So once I finish, then a metadata store gets added into the metadata store list, and you can see here we have the different actions of the item, which helps we can perform the operations. Store details, once I click on store details, you can see all the details I will be displaying here, dimensions, measures, and time. And here we have the add synonyms to metadata store. You can add the synonyms here based on the requirement, that is the NLP synonyms. Here we have the share metadata option, just like the data store, data connector, data set. So user can share the data store metadata from different users or the user groups. And also if user wants to exclude, user can exclude it and save it. Another option, that is edit. User can edit the data store metadata. If user would like to be stored change the data store name, collections name, user can change it and modify it based on the requirement. Remove, user can remove the data store metadata from the using this remove button. Datasheet stores the data in visually appealing and easy to use spreadsheet. It can act as a powerful database that allow the user to remove the data and store or share the structured data across. Once I click on the datasheet option from the new context menu, then the datasheet connector page opens. Here, provide a name for the datasheet. I'm giving here my name, datasheet name is customer details, and the second part is the column definition. So here we have the column name. So here we have to specify the column details, like which type of column name you would like to be add into the data sheet, which data type should contain, and other field also. So what is the column name? We have to just specify the column name as per the data source. So suppose I'm giving here customer ID and input type. We have to select an option. So here we have the drop down. Which type of data would you like to store the specified column? So I'm selecting here numeric type. Lookup. This option is disabled right now because this option is enabled only when the input type is drop down. Then in this option we select the data sheet whose value has to be listed in the drop down, and this column is also related to the lookup table. So this option is also enabled only when the input type is dropped down. Data restriction as it also contains the drop down and displays the user or the group specific custom field to restrict the data. Filter, you can apply the filter. So once you just if you want to enable the filter by putting the check mark in the checkbox, then we can, means the filter is applied on this particular column. Add and update. To add a new column or modify the existing column, you can use this option. Just click on that and then the column or the data sheet, then we will get the customer ID. User can remove or delete the added datasheet information using this icon. So now I'm adding the new next column, that is customer name, and select the input type text and click on add button. Next, I'm giving gender column and the input type is drop down. So you can see here this option is enabled now. And in this option, we have to select the data sheet whose value has to be listed in the drop down. So I have a table that is a customer table or the customer table sheet. So I'm selecting this table or the sheet and the column. This column option is enabled only when the input type is dropped down. As I already mentioned, we select the column of the data sheet whose value has to be listed in the drop down field. So gender as selected, and if you want you can apply the filter, otherwise just click on add. Next is salary and the input type. I'm selecting numeric type and click on add button. So now you can see we have these meta information or the structure. So by clicking on this add or update option, a new columns get added. If you want to modify the existing column, you can also use the same icon. Once I click on the save button, then we'll get the notification message data saved successfully. And the newly data sheets get added into the list of data sheets. Here we have some actions or operations which we can perform on the data sheet: publish, edit, and delete. Once I click on this publish icon, then you can see the publish datasheet window opens. Using this option, the user can publish datasheet. We have the user group exclude user option. So user can share the datasheet with multiple users. Select this checkbox and with single or multiple users, and also exclude the user. So user can exclude the user also if you want to exclude any user from right to access the datasheet. So I'm selecting one user and click on the save button. So we'll get successful message like the datasheet has been updated successfully. Now you would like to be enter the data. So what we need to do now, I will show you. So once you will get the success message like datasheet has been updated successfully, then the selected datasheet gets published on the My Document space of the selected user. So I just click on this app menu and select and click on the home. Then you can see published datasheet is displaying on the My Document. Just click on particular datasheet and you can see here we have the customer details, and right hand side we have an option like add row, delete row, and save. Now I want to be enter the row. So just click on this add row. A new row gets added at the bottom. You can see here. So I'm specifying here the customer ID, customer name, gender. So gender, I have given the drop down. You can see female and male is automatically displayed as we have selected the customer table data sheet. So here we can select it and the salary. You can add more rows as per the requirement. Like I'm adding 102 and here and drop down. I'm selecting the value from the drop down. It's female and the salary. If you want to add a new row, you can just click on the add new row and save it. Once you save it, then the data is getting saved. And we have one more option, that is copy and paste the data into the published data sheet. So user can create a metadata structure of the data sheet using the data center module, and later on if we can insert the data from an Excel file, you can just directly copy and paste the data to the published data sheet. So now I'm showing you how we can copy paste. So we have the sheet and I want to be copy paste. Before, select copy and paste here. So you can use the copy paste feature also and just save it. We have the filter option also, apply filter, the field name. For the customer ID, I have applied the filter and I would like to filter the customer ID, then we can do like this also.